In the sport, it's enough just to try to beat the opponents who are put in front of them. But there are a special few for whom that's never quite enough, and Roy Jones is front and center among those special few. Roy is always chasing some bigger goal, whether it be his place in history, never quite big enough to satisfy himself, or his dominance of his opponents, never big enough to satisfy his critics.
Few present-day athletes have dominated their competition quite like Roy Jones. Over the course of his career, he has so thoroughly outclassed his opponents that finding a legitimate in-the-ring challenge has become the challenge. But tonight could be different. Tonight there's plenty at stake. Not only will Roy be fighting to become the only undisputed belt holder in his sport, he's fighting an opponent he's had his eye on for quite some time.
Reggie Johnson sparred with Roy Jones down in Pensacola a few years ago, and apparently Roy did not appreciate the fact that his father, Roy Sr., took an interest in Reggie and was helping training him, because Roy had the foresight to say, hey, I may meet this guy sometime.
Why would you even be spending time with him like that? Our paths are going to cross if he is successful. And sure enough, now it's been about 7-8 years, but they're about to cross now.
Their paths have intersected, and with a victory tonight, the Undisputed Light Heavyweight Championship would be Roy's. If he achieves that goal, might the time finally be right to test the waters as a heavyweight? It's been talked about for years.
He has a lot of trouble finding opponents as a light heavyweight. When you're too good for the guys in your division, the only thing to do is quit or move up.
The biggest point of intrigue is that people think he's gonna kill me. People think ain't no way in the world Roy Jones is big enough to beat no heavyweight. He's too small. And I love to hear people say they think I can't.
But history supports the naysayers. Although Michael Spinks won the heavyweight title, the only light heavy to do so, he was eventually embarrassed by a much bigger puncher. Other 175-pound greats like Billy Conn, Archie Moore, and Bob Foster all failed in their attempts. So what chance does this former junior middleweight have?
There's plenty of heavyweights out there that Roy Jones can beat. I think Jones would come in about 182, 183 pounds. You have to remember when Billy Conn fought Joe Louis, he only weighed 169 pounds. Against one of the greatest heavyweights that ever lived, and damn near won the fight.
Roy has to pick the right time and the right guy if he's going to make the jump. Lennox Lewis was just simply too big. Evander Holyfield at this point, perfect. Roy Jones and Evander right now, I would say, would be a very competitive fight.
Roy's plan is not to become a heavyweight for good, but to fight once for the heavyweight title against the right opponent, like Evander Holyfield.
Be a great matchup for me because of the size. You know, he's not too big for me because I'm smaller. He want to come out and try to finish me off right away and get it over with. But I think, you know, I'm far too elusive for that. And after he got over that, then the fight will start. And I think it'll be downhill for him from that point forward.
If I had Roy Jones, I would have had him fight Evander Holyfield at least a year ago, because I think he has the punching power and the speed to make Holyfield an easy fight for him.
I'm not a guy who is afraid of nothing. I'm 30 years old. What do I have to be afraid of? I do whatever the fans want to see. I know the fans wanted to see a unification fight, so I made that had to happen. They want to see me go to Milwaukee and wrestle a buffalo with a pair of gloves on, and that's what'll happen.
Whatever happens, wouldn't it be fun? Not the buffalo and the gloves, but to see Roy Jones Jr. fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world.
Welcome back. Roy Jones is someone you've gotten to know, as we all have, because, of course, among his many involvements, he works for HBO. But how about those many involvements? I mean, this is a guy he's playing on a semi-pro basketball team, so he trains in 2 different places. He works for HBO. He's got a carpet cleaning business. He's getting into the boxing promotion business. He owns a music studio. I'm leaving out 2 or 3 things. He's got a big farm. He tends to 100 chickens. Too many different walks of life for one guy, or perfect for somebody with the energy of Roy Jones?
Well, in boxing, they talk about the deterioration of brain cells. They won't deteriorate if you're using them. This guy is definitely using his brains. He's having a lot of fun. All boxers should take this lead and try to do the same thing. I think he needs more things to do.
So you don't think that there's a danger of distracting him from the difficult task of boxing?
No, the days of, I got to ask coach, it's gone forever. These are the days of the many facets of heavyweight, middleweight, and, of course, light heavyweight boxers.
Well, let's see what happens to Roy Jones as a light heavyweight boxer as he continues that incarnation tonight. Meanwhile, there's been a delay in Reggie Johnson's dressing room, where they had difficulty for a while finding a set of gloves to fit him. Now they've finally gotten the right gloves. As you can see, they're putting them on at this moment, and Reggie will be coming out to the ring very shortly to get ready for this battle against Roy Jones. George, let's talk about Reggie Johnson. And I talked about how well you know Roy Jones. Reggie grew up in the same neighborhood in Houston where you grew up. His father was what, a schoolmate of yours?
That's right. We had the 3rd and 4th grade together. I could whip his dad.
So you've whipped a lot of people, George. So you know as well as anybody the difficult path that he's had to travel to get here. And of course, with Roy focused on so many different things, I mean, you know, you say it's not a distraction. Michael Jordan's at ringside tonight because he's Roy's business partner and they're launching a clothing line. It's like a perfect psychological setup for an upset for Reggie if he's ready to do his job.
The difference between a contender and a champion, motivation. You got to be motivated. If you can catch Roy Jones tonight not motivated, this guy could clean him out. That's the only difference. Physically, they're the same. Mentally, they could be the same, but motivation. You got to be motivated.
Because Reggie Johnson's a terrific fighter. He was a middleweight champion before he began to have trouble making 160 pounds. Eventually found his comfort zone when he moved up to 175. He's waited a long, long time to get this coveted opportunity to fight against Roy Jones.
My road has been a windy, uphill, downhill, uphill road, a lot of bumps that I've had to overcome.
Once a middleweight champion and currently a reigning light heavyweight champ, Reginald Johnson has never been a household name. Tonight, Reggie Johnson, a man continually with his back against a wall, plans to step out of the shadows of his difficult past.
Around 8 years old, his father went away to prison behind an assault case.
I remember being a little kid, being the one traveling with my mother to go see my dad behind a big, thick glass window. It made me feel sad.
And these were really hard days for him. He would become sometimes emotionally detached.
It was kind of degrading for my son to see me in that situation.
He would ask me, when is he going to be allowed to come home?
Home was the roughest neighborhood in all of Texas, Houston's 5th Ward, where getting out was the road less traveled.
You have the drugs, the prostitution, the robberies. Watts, South Central, 5th Ward. You know, from one ghetto to the other, they're all the same.
One of my sisters said to him that he was going to wind up like his dad if he wasn't careful.
A misdirected 12-year-old then turned to his uncle, an amateur boxer, for some much-needed guidance.
Started in the garage. We just took an old croaker sack, a potato sack, and we filled it with sand. And he was really good, man. So I took him with me to the boys club. He never looked back.
The one thing about that day, the minute I took those gloves off, it was like I found my niche.
But Reggie's mother would still need further convincing that boxing was the right kind of intervention to take him off the street.
He would pull on my sleeve and say, "Coach, when are you going to talk to Mama? I want to box." So me and Reg went over there. She came out on the porch. And she said,
"You're Coach Carter from the boys club." And he was like, "Yes, I am."
She said, "You want my son to box?" I said, "Yes, ma'am."
"No, sir, I don't think so."
Coach Carter persuaded Reggie's mother to give him a trial, and within 2 years, he won over 90 amateur bouts. He turned pro and became a middleweight champion before his career derailed because of managerial disputes which cost him time, money, and recognition.
I don't look at it as a complete loss because it's never too late to turn things around.
Something he's learned from his father, who's put his own life back together over the last 6 years. For Reggie, his turnabout came last year in a dramatic upset victory over William Guthrie.
A new belt holder in the light heavyweight division.
And with that, a heartfelt wish was fulfilled.
So I used to always look out and I would see 2 empty chairs. My mother and father were there for the most part.
I've always known this is something that he always wished for.
For Reg to have us there, we know the importance of it.
It's nice now looking out there knowing that, you know, through it all, I proved a lot of people wrong.
Tonight, Reggie Johnson has another hill to climb. Amid near unanimous expectations, he's about to get punched back toward the bottom of the boxing heap. But it's a long way from the 5th Ward to the spotlight. And to have made the trip and to have brought Mom and Dad with him is a satisfaction that can never be knocked out.
Norma Johnson, mother of Robert Johnson, father of, and former schoolmate of George Foreman, in the dressing room. Cheering their son on as he warms and gets ready to come to the ring, fight the biggest fight of his life against Roy Jones. Tail of the tape for this light heavyweight title fight. And you can see that Roy Jones has reached the age of 30, but is still 2 years younger than Reggie Johnson, an inch in height to Jones. They weighed in at 174 and 171, and Reggie Johnson says, I'm just not going to get much bigger than 175 pounds. This is my body. This is who I am. So he's giving up 7 pounds in weight to Jones, who gained 8 since yesterday's weigh-in. 2-inch reach advantage to Jones. Punch stat numbers, and you can see that for the 2 fight averages, Jones against Otis Grant and Lou Duval, Johnson against William Guthrie and Will Taylor. It is Johnson who has slightly the better numbers. How about jabs? Well, once again, and again unusually, it is Reggie Johnson who has slightly the better jab numbers coming into the fight against Jones. And one odds maker in Vegas called this a 15-to-1 fight. Those odds are outlandishly lopsided because Reggie Johnson's just too good to be a 15-to-1 underdog against anybody, even Roy Jones. Harold Letterman, the rules of the bout.
Jim, the rules of the bout. The Roy Jones Jr. Reggie Johnson fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
And first to enter will be Reggie Johnson. You see behind him the man who has taken over the training chores for this fight, Don Turner, well known as trainer to both Evander Holyfield and Michael Grant in the heavyweight division. Reggie Johnson turned his career around with the stunning one-punch right hook knockout of William Guthrie last year that earned him a light heavyweight title.
Can you turn that music up some, man? Yeah! Get on, boys, in the house! What's up? Reggie Johnson in the house. This goes out to anybody and everybody who has to have to fight for everything.
Johnson in, Turner following him in. And the record for Reggie Johnson, 39 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw. 2 of those losses, incidentally, were close, tough decision losses in Argentina to Argentine Jorge Castro. Even Roy Jones says, no way Reggie was going to win one of those fights. Referee Elmo Adolph with a little early instruction to Johnson as Roy Jones prepares to come in. The name of Roy's walkout music is Drop Bombs, which is the flip side of his own new single, I Pray, to be released later this month. And Roy Jones's record, the 1 loss, a disqualification against Montel Griffin, immediately avenged via a first-round knockout. 33 KOs in 39 fights, 13-1, 9 KOs in title fights. And you saw the statistic, almost incredible, that shows that Jones is about to defend his title against a southpaw for the 4th consecutive time. While you're watching this fight, you can log on to www.hbo.com/boxing to chat and score each round of tonight's action. You can also voice your opinion on the poll question for the night. If Roy Jones wins, should he move up to the heavyweight division and campaign there? Give us a yes or no, and we'll provide you with the results of that poll later on. Now let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, Murad Muhammad's M&M Sports in association with Jordan Brand, Cedric Kushner Promotions, Square Ring, and the Grand Casino present 12 rounds of boxing for the unified IBF, WBA, WBC Light Heavyweight Championship of the World. Sanctioned by the Mississippi State Athletic Commission, Chairman Billy Lyons, Commissioner Fred Angelis, Chief Deputy Commissioner Sal Taranto, physicians at ringside, Dr. Lance Barnes, Dr. Todd Cothern, timekeeper at the bell, Denver Anderson, counting for the knockdown seconds, Wayne Premu. From the Grand Casino, ladies and gentlemen, your 3 judges assigned here at ringside, scoring the bout on a 10-point must system will be from California, Chuck Hassett, from Venezuela, Cova Jesus, and from Mississippi, Paul Sita. And when the bell rings, your referee in charge of the action, Elmo Adolph. And now, from the Grand Casino of the Mississippi Gulf Coast, for the thousands attendants and the millions watching around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting at the corner, wearing white with blue and weighing 171 pounds. As an amateur, he accumulated nearly 100 victories, and now, as a professional, he is a 2-time world title holder with 39 victories, 24 by knockout, with 5 losses and a draw. He comes to this ring wearing 1 championship belt and plans to leave wearing 3. Ladies and gentlemen, from Houston, Texas, here is the former middleweight world champion and reigning, defending IBF Light Heavyweight Champion of the World, Reggie "Sweet" Johnson. And across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing black trimmed with red, he weighs 174 pounds. In 1988, he was a silver medalist while deserving Olympic gold. Now, as a professional, he has a record consisting of 39 victories, including 33 knockouts, with only 1 loss, disputed and avenged. And he has captured 4 world titles in 3 divisions, while most experts recognize him as, pound for pound, the best there is. Ladies and gentlemen, from Pensacola, Florida, presenting the 4-time world champion, the reigning and defending WBA, WBC Light Heavyweight Champion of the World, Roy Jones Jr.
Let's get everybody out. Get them all out. Get them all out. All right, gentlemen. Both of you professionals, I expect you to pay attention to my commands out here. Let's have a good fight. Shake hands. Come out boxing.
8 years ago, Reggie Johnson was briefly brought to Pensacola, Florida, and trained in the gym for a period of time, about 6 or 8 weeks, with Roy Jones's dad, Roy Jones Sr., who was still training his son at that time. Roy Jones Sr. asked Roy to get in the ring and spar with Reggie Johnson. And Roy, after a brief period of time doing so, stepped away and said, "This is nonsense. If I'm going to be measured, I shouldn't be measured against a guy I'm someday going to fight for a title." Jones was right. He knew that their paths would eventually cross.
Reggie's got to make sure he jump on Roy and get ahead on points. Stay ahead on points. You're a challenger. You're supposed to be motivated to get that title. Roy Jones' job is to make certain that he doesn't give this guy too much courage, because once he starts landing one shot at a time, then he's going to fall right into Reggie's trap.
The expectation is that Jones would choose to box and be safe. Even his good friend Derek Smoke Gaynor said to us yesterday, I want him to box. This should be an easy fight. But Roy Jones said to us, well, don't necessarily count on it. I might decide to go ahead and confront him man-to-man in the first round because I think he wants it that way.
It's already starting to go Reggie's way. Roy lands one shot, and it turns into a clinch.
Let's go break it.
Reggie gets in 2 or 3 before all of that happened.
Reggie getting in the little pops to the body, as you saw them in that last clinch. 1 minute down, hard right hand by Jones, and Johnson goes straight on to the seat of his pants. There's the quickness and the power of Roy Jones.
That's the quickness and the power. But you got a long night. You don't want to be doing it with one shot.
Another right hand lead lands on Johnson, and Johnson trying to fight back. Apparently wanting to communicate right away to Jones, that was a flash knockdown. You didn't hurt me that badly.
That punch hurt. And Reggie, this is all new to Reggie now. He's into another category.
Jones told us that he felt the straight right hand would be the dominant punch in his arsenal. Already the returns are in.
One thing you want to do is Reggie's corner. You got to let them know where Roy Jones's power range is. You got to keep your hands set.
Let's go. Get out of it.
2 weeks ago, Oscar De La Hoya knocked Obakar down in the first round, and it looked for a moment as though it would be an easy fight. 10 rounds later, De La Hoya was still fighting before he earned his TKO of Obakar. Another quick right hand by Jones.
Now, Reggie's going to have to set his defense, find out where that shot hurt me, and put his hand right there in that position.
And a cut above the right eye of Reggie Johnson. Little cut just at the corner of the right eye. He was cut in the 12th round of the Will Taylor fight over the right eye. That was back in February. Now, 4 months later, the cut emerges again in the same place.
All of that flash knockdown happened. Reggie sticking strengths with the same strategy, throwing 4 or 5 shots. You're Roy Jones, you don't want him throwing shots, you want him defending himself at all times.
Great right hand lands for Reggie Johnson. Obviously, his plan was to go to the body. But there's a knockdown, there's blood, there's a highly energetic Roy Jones, there's a wildly enthusiastic crowd, and already Reggie Johnson is in an uphill fight.
Get that blood off him, man. Get that blood off his chest.
You're giving him too much time to work, man. He's leaning over at the waist. He can't hurt you if you get close to him.
Let's take a look at the knockdown from 3 angles as you look at CompuBox numbers that showed Roy Jones fighting economically but effectively. And there's the straight right hand.
Right on top of the eye. And you know, if a guy's throwing one shot, here we go again. And you don't even think it hurt when you punch it with that kind of power. It happens so quickly. Takes a moment for you before your legs tell you, hey, you're down.
So the knockdown and the cut came from the same punch.
I believe it's in the same area.
Look that way. All of Roy Jones's 12 punch connects in the first round were power shots. I don't think he'll throw too many jabs against a southpaw. And you heard Don Turner telling Reggie Johnson, get inside and don't give him any time to work. Reggie Johnson's listening.
You want to get inside and land as many punches as you can so that you can make Roy Jones following you around, landing one shot at a time.
Looking at Jones in his battles against Mike McCallum, Montel Griffin, and a couple of others, Lou Duval in particular. Reggie Johnson's people, Don Turner most particularly, felt as though if you back Roy up against the ropes, he's not effective. But he's certainly awfully effective when he stands in the middle of the ring like this.
All right, let's go. Get out. Break it clean. Step back.
The thing about this Roy Jones, he's so conditioned. It takes a lot of energy to throw that many power shots. And Reggie's having a difficult time trying to decide which defense is he going to use.
Speed. Speed is the great equalizer in so many sports, and speed is the difference so far between Jones and Johnson.
It doesn't matter who you're fighting, you have a defense. You set your defense, you don't move your hands back and forward, you just set it where the guy's going to hit you.
Johnson getting to the body. Jones backs up. Hard right hand uppercut by Jones.
And you notice Reggie's hands were right in the right spot that time.
Keep him up.
Now he blocks a right hand with his left glove, does Reggie Johnson, and fires a right to Jones's chest. Backs Jones up into the ropes as he goes to Roy's body.
Back up, Reggie. Back up. Watch your heads. Watch your heads.
A lot of times you think you have to move your hands back and forward, but just setting your defense, you're out of trouble. Keep your hands up at all times.
Jim Lampley and George Foreman live at ringside in Biloxi, Mississippi. Larry Merchant not with us tonight. Home in California for his daughter Julie's graduation from high school. And Jones, having already knocked Reggie Johnson down once in the first round, looks for another one in the second.
Roy Jones is awful courageous. Now he's throwing combinations, which he should have always been doing. Roy Jones, throw your combinations. Although you're powerful, use the 1, 2, 3.
Put your punches up, Roy. Watch your lowers.
Jones digging up and under with the right hand. And again, this is the 10-second warning, not the end of the round. Elmo Adolph has to let the fighters know that that's not the end of the round. That's the bell that ends the round. Confusing.
Way to play off his jab. That's good. That 4-3 working, baby. Okay. That 4-3 working off his jab. I got it. Okay. Pull the cup out. Okay. Get that blood off his chest, man. All right. Way to go. Way to follow his jab up. You follow that jab right back.
When he get close, he want to run. Make him run. You got to get close. Cut down his...
about the cut. Ain't nothing we can't handle. Relax. Relax.
When he don't hook, step back. Because he's coming with the straight right. Okay. And counter punch. Straight left with right hook. He's coming back with the jab. Move to the right, Reggie.
If Elmo Adolph hasn't expressed an opinion to officials at ringside as to whether that cut was the product of a butt or a punch, we're not sure. We showed you the punch in the first round that could have caused the cut. There's head contact, which also could have caused the cut. So we're not sure which was the instance in which Reggie Johnson's right eye got sliced open. Now we go to round 3.
Whenever Roy Jones spreads his legs any length of a way, he's trying to get in a power shot. And I think Reggie's corner should be advising him not allow this guy to spread his legs.
How do you stop him?
What you do is just stay close, real close to him. Make him back up everything after he backs up.
I'm pretty sure Don Turner would want Reggie Johnson to crowd Jones a lot more than he's doing.
When he spreads his legs, you can also just kind of move back a little bit and make him bring his feet together again.
We're told, incidentally, that Johnson's corner firmly believes that the cut over Reggie's right eye was from the butt, not from the punch in round 1. Of course, it's in their best interest to believe that. Johnson with a looping left hand, and now digging to Jones's body. Jones backs him up with a right.
Now, when he backs his legs up, move back a little bit and make him start all over again. This is what Reggie has to do.
Right, hold on. Let's go. Let's go. Don't push him in, Rod. Don't push him in, Rod.
Roy Jones doesn't like using his left jab, so he uses everything with his feet, spreads them apart.
And does Roy drop his left hand so low because he wants you to fire the right so he can counter over it?
He spreads himself because he doesn't use a jab. He's looking for the same thing that you could create with a right jab or left jab. Just can't
punch combination by Jones. Too much speed for Johnson to handle. More lead right hands. Reggie Johnson backing up against the ropes and not throwing, blinded by Jones's speed.
Roy Jones is pretty clever. He knows all this is created in the middle of the ring, so he's not going to throw everything while this guy's on the rope. Try to pull him back out to the middle of the ring and do what you did originally.
Has there ever in the history of the sport been a 175-pound fighter with the kind of hand speed that Roy Jones has?
He's gifted. He started off in the lighter weights, and just like one of those jet pilots. Speed moved up with him, and you see what happens. That hurt.
Whoa. 6, 7, 8. Reggie Johnson has never been knocked out. And now round 3 comes to a close. Or did it? Missed the knockdown. Want to see it again?
You see Roy gets a chance to spread his feet. Boom. Straight right hand right on the button. And it bent his knees. You don't allow him to spread his legs. Once again, he's got it. Happens so quickly that you just can't duck.
Second knockdown in 3 rounds. Second time Johnson's been knocked down by a quick, straight right hand. This one set up by a left. The one in the first round was a single punch knockdown.
Seldom you see guys with that kind of speed, accuracy, and then have the power to go along with it. You just don't see it much.
Harold Letterman, how do you have it through the first 3?
3-0, 30-25, Roy Jones Jr. You certainly have to give him an extra point in round 1. You got to give him an extra point in round 3. Personally, I thought they should have sent in a doctor in the corner at the end of the 3rd round to look at Reggie Johnson. There was no doctor in there. I tell you, I still think Reggie Johnson's coming out for the 4th round hurt. But this is all Roy Jones. Look at that.
Yep, we could see a finish here. Well called, Harold, as Reggie Johnson has no legs, or at least is diminished, beginning round 4.
Well, one thing about this, Reggie is one of the best fighters in this weight class ever. He doesn't even know what to do. Roy Jones is there and beyond.
Yep. Johnson looking hesitant and confused as he trained hard, had a good plan, was mentally focused and prepared, and has simply been dazzled by Jones's overwhelming physical gifts.
Seldom you see a guy get to this stage as Roy Jones has and continuously gets into the ring in shape.
Roy firing to the body that time. Jones has become increasingly fond of body punches in the past 4 or 5 fights. Very proud last year when he knocked Virgil Hill out with a body shot here.
That goes to show you he's holding something back right now. Hasn't been able to get in a good body shot. That ever happened, my goodness. Just cannot drop your hands when you're boxing Roy Jones. They have to be up. You ducking, cover your face.
George, I know you're a big Oscar De La Hoya fan. You have a lot of admiration for Trinidad and Prince Nassim and various other fighters in the sport. Is Roy your pound-for-pound #1?
I've never seen anything like this. Roy Jones reminds me of a little more Muhammad Ali, stinging hook with Joe Frazier. He's everything you'd want to see in a fighter, and you're not going to see that much. I can't tell you that about the other guys. They are great.
The reflexes of a Ray Leonard or a Ray Robinson.
Anything you want, he has it. I mean, he's got body punching power.
So it's been all Roy Jones for the first 4 rounds.
And like Oscar De La Hoya, he has courage.
Yeah. Sensational uppercut. Snaps Johnson's head back. And Roy beginning to clown just a little bit for the audience here.
You can't play with Reggie, though. You can't play with him.
Roy even looks away to try to tempt Reggie to come off the ropes. And dances with Elmo Adolph for further entertainment.
Listen.
One-sided CompuBox numbers reflecting Jones's overwhelming dominance against a guy who was regarded as one of his toughest opponents ever.
Do you understand?
Here's the uppercut, George.
There you are, and that's something you don't expect Roy Jones to do. You have to keep your hands in position at all times.
Seated at ringside, Reggie Johnson's mother, Norma Johnson, remembering now why all those years ago she wasn't sure she wanted her son to box.
Well, this is the time. This is what it's all about. You can't win them all.
Let's get all this ice out of here. Let's keep this
all right, ice and moisture in Johnson's corner.
Give me the towel.
I wonder if Reggie's handlers thought maybe they could concoct a little delay here.
Does nothing but help Reggie.
That's right.
Let's go, fellas.
He's definitely the beneficiary.
Time.
Now they start round 5 of a scheduled 12.
Now, Reggie, when you can't do anything else, go back to your basics. Use your left jab, feint, come in with your right jab, feint, come in with a little right hook every now and then, box. Nothing else is working. The basics, always you can call on your basics.
Of course, is what's coming back.
No, you can the basics. He stepped out of the basics, reaching out for hard shots with Roy Jones a little early on, throwing combinations without understanding what he's doing. But now he can go back to the basics. He's been a boxer for many years. If you throw a right jab, a left jab, right jab at this point, at Roy Jones Jr., you're not going to miss him. You take the power off of it, you're going to get him.
Landing 3 punches. Johnson manages to connect with a right.
Once again, he drops his right hand.
Drops his right hand.
You can't do that. Your defense has to be set because this guy is so quick. You can't depend on your reflexes.
Boy's just looking for another opening for that straight right hand lead. Fires it there.
Reggie stepping back just to counter one time. Looking for one good counter straight left hand.
That time Jones stepping into the right hand and Johnson hugging him up to stop the momentum.
Still looking for one shot, Reggie. Roy's got his legs spread, so he's intending to land a hard shot.
Well, it's an almost insurmountable task facing Johnson now because he's bound to be 4, 5, 6 points down on the scorecards. He hasn't had a knockout past the 5th round since 1993. And he's going against a guy who is overwhelming him and swamping him with punching accuracy and activity. And putting on a show. He would have to go back to the basics, try to break Roy down to the body, and set him up for something in the late round.
Right jab, you double up on your jab, you go to the body, you feint. It's the auto self-defense. This is the time to defend yourself.
He's not doing any of that.
You see, boxing was invented so that the smaller guy, the frailer guy, can have an advantage with the skills. Use your skill.
Move to the right. Hey, Reggie.
Got another one.
Listen, Reggie.
Whoa. And you saw the one punch Johnson landed. It was that winging right hand around the top.
Man. The guy's quick. You can see that, right? You got to nullify his speed, man. You got to crowd him and throw punches and make him back up. You letting him be the aggressor. Come on, man.
Come on, right there. Hot shot him and then move out. Don't stay there. Let it work. mistake. You go catch him clean. Let it work. Deep breath.
Kid Gavilan invented the bolo punch.
Seconds.
Kid Gavilan landed it a little harder than that a lot of times.
Sometimes when you're not doing what you want to do, you just get the crowd involved by doing funny things. This is sometimes still a circus, you know.
Roy, conscious of the fact that there are fans here who may not have seen Kid Gavilan in his prime, just wanted to show him a little glimpse.
Well, there's a lot of water falling off of Roy Jones.